Now, dears, a few of you have asked me questions, some of them rather difficult questions that I don't know how to answer. Well, of course, I don't know, do I? What do I know? I'm just a stupid man. But there's a great secret now, an answer to all our problems and questions. Look, here we are in this blessed silence, stillness, presence. Now just see for yourselves, here and now, what's happened to passing time, and what's happened to space, time and space. And the usual way we dwell in passing time and in the going to and fro here, there and everywhere in space. In other words, in the measures of time and space. Now in this silence, just see for yourselves that time stands still. We simply forget about it, don't we, if you're present. And similarly with the going here and there, with the measures of space, how big it is, how small it is, absent friends and all that. It melts into one all-containing space, doesn't it? Infinite space. And just continuing to stay in this silence, what happens to your questions? No question is there. It's profoundly true, isn't it, that when we are present, no question, and there's also no doubt about it, is there? It's obvious. No doubt, no question. So really, doesn't it follow that the answer to every question is that there is no question? And that really, because we don't dwell always in this blessed space, and we live in a world of doubts and questions and measures of time and space, if we have and face up to questions, well, if we can just refer to this, well, we will receive an answer. You see, at breakfast, Cindy next to me was asking me how I came to terms with the killing of animals, for example. And other people who've asked me what I eat and things like this, usual questions of the world. What do I say? As a young man, Cindy, I wept bucketfuls of tears for all my animals, starting with my pet rabbit and going through the whole range of them. But then I suppose as gradually, over many years, this presence became ever more of a reality to me. And first of all began to sort of be there in the picture together with, of course, all these measures. A little bit of presence and then you forget it and come back into the time and space and worries and questions. And then gradually, with practice, the one's confidence in this presence grew, and dependence on worldly answers got less. So gradually, you see, you come to see that the measures of life, including death, somehow diminish. It's not quite as real as it seems, because there is a continuation, isn't there? There is the world of change takes place within the world of changelessness. The world of time and space the world of time and space take their place within infinite space and timelessness, eternal time. And gradually, over a lifetime, the greater supersedes the less. But when we're young, we still worry about things. Of course we do, because we cannot grow up before we're ready. A child cannot acquire the understanding of an adult before he's ready to. We cannot be holier than we are. So really we just have to live as we are. The old saying, be true to yourself. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth. Just think what we can do when we're young. We can run up hills and get our shoes wet and don't worry about it, and do all sorts of things like that, can't we? When we're old, we can't do these things, but to compensate, we get a bit more confidence in the unchanging. That's what the good book says. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth. Then it goes on until the time comes when we have no joy in our years, or something like that. So live as one can while we may, dear. But don't lose hope, because hope is there. Keep practicing. You're lucky if I started to meditate when I was 26, and it wasn't a day too soon, really, and just keep plodding on, keep up the good work, and little by little the wonderful picture will unfold. There are plenty of good books and testimonies of other people that have trodden this way before to encourage one along the way. Learn what you can from whom you can. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no man evil for evil, but support the weak. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Love and serve the Lord. Well, having demolished all your questions, seems a bit unfair to ask if there are any more to ask. I've taken the wind out of your sails, haven't I? You know, Scott, as a young man, when I first joined the School of Meditation, I was very disappointed to be told that this way is the way of the householder. Because as a dead keen young man, I wanted to be told to go and sit on top of a mountain in the Himalayas and wear a yellow jacket or wear a yellow robe and live on a bowl of rice a day, you know, and do all those things. And I was really rather very disappointed to be told that we should just lead a normal life. No way, wasn't good enough for me. But, you see, actually, you see, this stillness is right here, isn't it? In the most ordinary circumstances, we don't have a bowl of incense in the middle, do we? We're not surrounded by a lovely great church. We're not all wearing yellow robes or singing some chant. We're just 6 ordinary looking people with ordinary sort of lives. And this presence is here amongst us, as much as on that mountain top in Tibet. No matter what's in our tummies or what we're wearing. It's very curious how our little separate me sort of wriggles, comes up with but. But if I didn't have a woman in my life, would it be easier? Well, if I didn't have children or dependencies or money troubles or this and that, would it? Very questionable, Scott. It's a bit of, if I may say so, what's called a red herring. I was also very disappointed when I school of meditation, to realize that in fact, the head of the school worked in a big drugs company. Most of the other tutors just had ordinary humdrum jobs in business or in London. Wore ordinary trousers, ordinary clothes, and had families. And look at me, just an ordinary man. In a way, these are the distractions, the idols we tend to play with along the way. But if this and that and the other, maybe they serve some minor purpose along the way. But you see, they all distract us from just what's here now. The principle of principles is here and now. It's the present moment, in this precise moment. When we start wandering off, you soon it soon starts to become a bit woolly. Feet on the ground. I never intended that to become such a slogan as it has done. Phil picked it up, but it's actually a very good one. I wouldn't mind having that on my gravestone, feet on the ground. It's a very good rule. It does keep you present, you see. Feet on the ground, listen and look. When we are centered in this oneness, you see, when we are present, when we got our feet on the ground and are listening and looking, then what happens naturally. Your nearest and dearest, we don't see at all because they're these habits. I'm not sure that my mother or father ever really saw me or I ever saw them. And I was married for a long time. And, I saw my wife the first morning after we slept together, and I never saw her again until she had a stroke in extreme old age. And then I saw her again. Extraordinary, isn't it? And this is how we live our lives, behind this mask of absence from one. I wonder how many of us have ever really actually seen anyone. Really seen. And what it means to see someone. So we live in this world of not really seeing, but so we have to do our best with what we do see. But insofar as we do see each other, then what happens naturally, truly naturally. Because that is the natural law, isn't it? Doing what comes naturally, like the old song says. Well, this is the work, my dears, and this is why practice, and I emphasize regular practice, it really is most important, if not essential. Because unless we establish a regular practice, like cleaning our teeth every morning and having breakfast, literally as mundane and humdrum as that, we will forget. And the world will sweep over us. We'll forget this weekend, and we'll get back as we were. So I do most sincerely suggest that strike while the iron's hot. When you get home, fix a time in your best. When we first get up in the morning, go to the bathroom and then sit down and do your practice. Don't wait till you start having breakfast and getting involved in the day, saying, I'll do it later, because you won't. Do it early in the morning and again in the evening before you're too tired. Morning and evening. Little and often is much better than trying to do a long session occasionally. Little and often, and that will gradually erode away into all these negative habits and contrary thoughts, which will witter away at the practice. That's all I've done in my life for nearly 60 years now since I started. Just stuck to the practice. With encouragement, I must say, from the school. And the least we can do is encourage each other. There's one thing I'd like to share with you all. There's a traditional icon of St. George, which you may have seen. Now, very often, particularly in the West, St. George is described as a muscular saint, brandishing a military weapon and slaying this poor dragon. Blood all over the place. Well, this is the way the West tends to attack the monsters of this world, including coronavirus and, all other things that the world doesn't like. But in the East, where there's a deeper understanding of these things, for example, and in Russia, there's a more traditional, subtler, older understanding. And this is an icon. And I'll pass it around so you can see. But you'll see that St. George is on, the dragon's down here, isn't it? This black thing here. This is coronavirus, you see. And St. George is on a white horse. And the horse is just dancing over it, isn't it? The horse is of light. And we've spoken about light. Light, both like electric light, the light of the sun, but also light in weight. The horse is weightless, isn't it? It's just floating over the dragon, isn't it? A white horse just dancing like that. Fairy, fairy light. And look at St. George's spear. It's not really a spear at all, is it? It's just actually a shaft of consciousness. See, what he's doing is looking at this dragon and saying, look, this is just darkness. And in the light, what happens to darkness? When you come into a dark room and switch on the light, what happens?
Darkness disappears.
Exactly. More light, less darkness. As simple as that. So when we look at the world's problems, look at it now. We've almost forgotten the world the last 2 days, haven't we? We're none of us afraid of this virus, are we? All these monsters, we've forgotten about them. They've just faded out of the picture. Why? Because we've been turned towards the light. And you see, look at St. George's face. He's completely serene, isn't he? And at rest. He's not like this, he's just completely at peace. And if you look this up in the top corner, there's God looking down, see? From heaven. So there we have the face at peace. And the arm of flesh, you see, is replaced by the arm of spirit. And the darkness it's just a shadow. Look, we've all got shadows on the floor. They're not a threat to us, are they? A shadow is just a shadow. We're not frightened of our shadows. I'll pass it around, you can have a look at it. So, if we remember that, my dears, we're well equipped to sally forth into this, well, world. And fear not. And I was thinking of another icon after we spoke this morning. And I told you that this chap in Oregon had sent a question, is silence love? Well, another classic Russian icon is that of the Madonna and Child. And again, nearly all classic depictions of the Madonna and Child, the Madonna's face is still, isn't it? Still. Silent. When you look at, I remember that there's the most noted of all of them is a great Madonna that is said to embody the soul of Russia. And like countless people, I suppose, my voice is breaking now, you see, silly on me. You know, you see it and you just melt, you know, tears just flow. What is it? What is this wonderful power of silence, power of stillness? It is a power, isn't it? It's a great power. So it's not surprising that Russians describe tears as washing the soul, as melting the soul. The heart melts. And one just merges into this blessed presence. And that, at its best, is meditation, which is also called prayer of the heart. And the heart just melts. And this, we're no longer separate. We just merge into the infinite and the perfect. And the whole. And so this slogan, if you like, of to make whole be whole, becomes reality. And that's, of course, what holiness is all about. There's no more 2 or 6, but only 1. How many people are there in this little group now? Or is it just one reality? And just up the road there's another 6, or is it just 1? And where does it end? Or isn't the whole world just one? All those separate people all at each other's throats, all that arises from separation and losing this blessed oneness. God holds the whole world in his hands, so they say. And it's true, isn't it? My hands again. Let go, you see. We may be afraid to let go to begin with, but actually it cannot hurt us, because the only thing we've got to lose is that, are our limitations. That's all we have to lose, is that which limits us, which spoils and comes between and separates. And when we do that, open not only our hands, but our hearts. All the little things that we hold and cherish so greatly, we find in that infinitude. So from poverty, we go to abundance. From our limited human capacities to the infinite capacity of one.